You're listening to Risk and Resolve, where leadership, business, and risk management collide. We bring you real conversations, sharp insights, and strategies for success. And now for your hosts, Conner and Todd Hufford.
Welcome back to another episode of Risk and Resolve. Today's special guest is Marcus Hall, president and partner of California Closets Midwest franchise that oversees Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky, and Ohio. Also a grad of Ball State, and definitely invested in the Indianapolis community. Marcus, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thrilled to be on. Thanks for having me, Ben and Todd.
Yeah, before we talk about California Closets, give us a little bit of background about you and just a little bit of your story that growing up and that sort of thing.
Yeah, happy to. Grew up about an hour and a half north of Indianapolis in the big metropolis of Sweetser, Indiana, not far from Swayze, which is it might still hold the record for the most overtime basketball games ever, which was 9. Small claim to fame when you grow up in the middle of a cornfield. So, yeah, grew up near Marion, Kokomo, and went to Huntington College for a year to play hoops, and then went to Ball State after I retired from basketball to wrap things up, and made my way to Indy after that, and have been an Indy resident ever since. And if we have our choices, that won't change for the extended future.
Yeah. When you came to Indy, what was your first stop from an employment perspective?
Man, it was, many people won't remember this depending on your age, as the three of us were talking before we hit record. We probably will since we're older. But the RCA Tennis Championships was job number one. It was an internship that turned into full-time employment for the first couple of years of my professional experience. And it was a blast, but it was a week and a half every year, and you worked the other 51 weeks for 1 week of sort of performance, and certainly the preparation before it. But that was my first full-time job. That was a great experience. Not the most lucrative opportunity, but it was great experience.
What part of it was, what would you say it's a great experience? What are some things that stand out? Like, I really picked up this or that from the RCA Tennis Championships.
Well, I think it's a good question. There's two things. I don't know if anyone's ever asked me that, but one, it's the appreciation of like sports as sort of this conduit for connectivity. I met some incredible people. One of my best friends, Dave Neff, and met him at that event. I've met some mentors. My now business partners, I met at that event. So there's a lot of unique relationships that I can attribute back to that. But sports has always been kind of a unique way to connect for me, and that certainly was true in my first stop from an employment perspective as well.
Yeah, and I know you're a major champion for the city, and are, you're strategic in getting involved and making sure that you're giving back. Did that experience light something in you for the city, or was there something down the line that really kind of lit up your heart for the city of Indianapolis?
Yeah, I think that was definitely a really critical first sort of point of exposure for that. There was the chairman of the Indianapolis Tennis Championships, Kevin Martin, who's a great leader and community advocate here in Indianapolis. He modeled that a great deal for me. So I go from that experience, and then I go to one of the greats, not just in Indianapolis, but in, I think, the country and the world. And Jim Morris, watched him, how he operated at the Pacers when I was there, and just what it meant to contribute to creating a vibrant city. So I've been able to watch a lot of leaders lean in and contribute outside of their family responsibilities and maybe their vocational duties to making this city really special and try to continue that legacy. So I watched a lot of that, and I think it's probably just been trying to model some of that behavior and contribute in a small way to carry that forward. Indianapolis has got a unique reputation, I think, for being kind of the amateur sports capital initially, and now really making a name and hosting Super Bowls. We got the Final Four coming up next month. So it's a pretty special place for things like that.
Absolutely. As we've been friends for a while now, you've always had entrepreneurial itch, if you will, even going back to the Pacer days and that sort of thing. And I think you've had, obviously we'll get into your current situation and being an entrepreneur through this experience, but you had some like side hustles along the way too, right?
Yeah, yep, sure did. Some failed ventures, some unique lessons learned. But was maybe constantly scratching that entrepreneurial itch. Thankfully, have wound up in a place and around some really great people to realize a more viable venture today in our current business. But yeah, we had some ideas and some lessons. I don't have my MBA formally, but we had some pretty terrible ideas that we tested. And one of my favorite ones was, I love sport coats and pocket squares, and I thought everybody would love pocket squares, so we should create a pocket square subscription business. And that taught me about something called total addressable market. And if you don't understand that the total addressable market for pocket squares is really small, you're going to find out quickly when you try to build a business around that. But stuffing pocket squares in envelopes and putting postage labels was an early part of my marriage, and have some fond memories, but I'm grateful for those lessons. It certainly taught me a lot.
Oh yeah. Well, Todd and I have stories too about those sorts of things as well, and failed ventures and that kind of thing. But it teaches resilience, and actually some of those experiences, I'll speak for myself, has 100% made me a better leader in the opportunity that actually became the real opportunity for me, which praise the Lord for that. Do you have, some things that you learned along the way that you feel like carried over well and kind of gave you maybe a better baseline for the real opportunity that presented itself through California Closets?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I'll probably butcher the quote, but there's this adage of like, hey, if you spend forever keeping your options open and having a bunch of side hustles, you'll always have your option open and a bunch of side hustles, versus like, if anything, it taught me that like, hey, we're just going to focus on like doing the very best at a singular thing. And certainly, from an investment strategy or retirement or those kind of things, we think about that, but we're going to go all in and do really great at a single thing versus trying to do a bunch of different ideas at once and do none of them well.
Right. Be a mile wide and an inch deep kind of concept. So how did you tell us the story about, your navigation to where you are today and the people you met along the way, and kind of how the opportunity to lead the Midwest California Closets franchise, how did that come to life?
Yeah, I think there was a period. So I went from sports marketing into software, got to experience what a lot of young professionals did in Indianapolis, and that was ride the exact target rocket ship with just some tremendous leaders, and learn a lot about, at least in a position of an individual contributor and an employee, what it looks like to grow a fast scaling organization with really unique culture. And so I was in that organization for several years, was part of the acquisition, hung around for a couple of years at Salesforce, and then got the idea that, hey, young marriage, thinking about kids, and the life's going to look different, and the optionality will also probably look different as those responsibilities increase. So started to shop around for some opportunities to possibly buy a business. This was pre the energy around entrepreneurship through acquisition. It was kind of early search fund. So I had started to understand some of these terms that were thrown around, and the idea of buying an existing thing that was already operating, had some level of inertia, I thought was more my cup of tea. I don't consider myself an entrepreneur, candidly. I think that like people that duct tape the credit cards together, push all the chips in, and like are not eating to hit payroll. That is an entrepreneur at its truest form. I'm some version of that, but I had a couple mentors, now business partners, that were helping me look at some businesses. We looked at some bad ones, and I think they saved me from buying some bad businesses just for the sake of being able to buy one and do it. But looked at a retail business, landscaping, and industries that I like, but just the businesses that they weren't good. And having people who have done this multiple times in your back pocket to be able to help you avoid stubbing your toe in a big way was just incredible. And over the course of those conversations, my partners had a private equity or permanent equity organization. They had a brand that needed someone to buy in to become an operating partner and president. And just over the course of us looking at deals and helping me avoid bad ones, I think, God has a way of just kind of revealing these opportunities. And it was like, hey, would you want to come do this? I know we've shot down all these ideas with you that you've been looking at. And it was, I wish there was some unique big aha, but it was like, yeah, that probably makes a lot of sense. And I like you guys a lot, and you like me, and we're value fit. And, I've known them ever since the tennis championships. The funny story is, though, like, I tried to sell my now business partners. I tried to sell them stuff at the tennis tournament, never bought anything. I tried to sell them stuff at the Pacers, never bought anything. I don't think I tried to sell them software at Exact Target, but they never bought anything from me. So I'm not sure why they thought I'd be a good business partner, but all that's
they skipped all that and bought you lock, stock, and barrel.
That's right. That's right.
So let me get this right. You've got a couple guys that you meet at the tennis championship, get to know them there. You're in the sports deal, sports marketing out of college. You then move to more sports marketing at the Pacers. And then you move into some still flashy stuff, software, peak time period for Exact Target, moving into Salesforce. And then these two individuals who were former clients, I guess, or you met them at the tennis championship, they become mentors to coach you. Do you think they had a plan in mind? Do you think now, looking back after working with them 10 years, that their plan to mentor you to buy a business was just their way of getting to know you a little better?
Maybe, Todd. They're wicked smart, so that could very well be true. My brother works for this kind of portfolio of companies as well. He's worked here longer, and maybe that was part of the strategy too, right? They got him into the mix, and I heard how much he loved being part of the broader kind of suite of brands. And maybe with that, they might say that was the plan all along, but it certainly didn't feel that way. We had a very special organic relationship. I mean, just tons of alignment. We played hoops together. We would golf together. We'd go to events together. A lot of faith alignment. So it was just a really cool friendship and mentorship.
Well, definitely time spent and time worthwhile. So obviously the name California Closets, you guys do a lot of stuff outside California, probably most of your stuff outside that state, as well as outside the closet. So where in the home can we find your products, or where should we put your products inside of our homes?
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about our brand is we're kind of the Kleenex. People know, they think of California Closets when they think about a custom closet, which is fantastic. I think what people don't realize, much like the stuff behind me, is there's any application of our system throughout the home, just about any. We don't do a kitchen or some rooms like that, but you think about the trend of work from home, you think about this hybrid environment. Home office has been an explosive category for us. Pantry, garage, laundry, you name it, other than the kitchen. And we think we have a creative approach. We custom design, manufacture everything here on the Near East Side of Indianapolis, and then get it out to our team across the 4 states we operate in to essentially go out and build it in your home or office.
Well, that was a question I had. So as a franchisee, you're not buying finished product from the franchisor. You're actually participating in the actual manufacture of the product. I'd like to learn more about that.
Yeah. So we've got about 30,000 square feet just on the Near East Side of downtown Indy, where we make everything. We bring in all the raw material. Our team will come out, they'll design everything to the room, to the fit, to the finish you desire. And then our engineering team will program that. And then we'll get to work here and we make it. We've got about 15 teammates here, part of our production organization, where we're manufacturing everything from start to finish, and then either getting it out to our installed technicians in Indiana or getting it shipped to all of our locations across the Midwest.
Can I install it myself? Is it that simple, or is it a little more complicated than that?
We would love to do that for you, Todd. We've got a warranty, and we've got a customer experience that we think is pretty special and pretty unique. And so it's turnkey solution.
Good answer.
As you've gotten into the business, what have been some of the things that you have learned? What are some key things you have learned as a leader in this first part of your career with California Closets and being the guy, the owner, and the leader of that business?
That's a long list, Ben. There's a lot that I have learned. It has been a very humbling journey, I would say, the past 10 years. As a recovering sales guy who didn't feel like he had a lot of tools in the leadership tool belt, still probably don't, but there's just been a lot. I think, situational leadership has been a big thing, and there's certainly a textbook element to that of the different leadership styles, but having to lead and manage and support a team through something like COVID, as an example, when the world's shutting down and navigating that, making decisions when they need to be made with little information is sort of the name of the game. And that's just one time period over the past 10 years. At the end of the day, it's such a cop-out, but I have learned that there are very few things I'm really good at. There's lots that I'm not. And if I can get people to buy into what we're building, why we're building it, this idea of impact and sort of the reason that we're competing, if I can get them to come in here and help fill in all the gaps in my own skill set, get out of the way and support them, we're going to do something pretty special. And that's just been the recipe. It's like, hire people smarter than me, not overly transformational idea, but support them, get out of the way. I do have my team, I think, loves and hates that I push hard and I have high expectations, but it's because I'm surrounded by people with exponential potential, and I just want to make sure that they get to achieve that.
For you personally, was the getting out of the way part difficult? And the reason why I ask, you said recovering sales individual, and, in sales, you kind of control beginning to end, and, it's obviously an individual contributor role, and then going to a leadership role where, you already mentioned, a design, engineer, production, and install. Those are 4 different divisions of sorts. You're not individually contributing. You're not gritting that one out. Was that something that was easy to learn because it's so vast of what you're doing, or was that hard to not have to want to grind it out yourself?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's funny because I think I'm not being cheeky in my answer because I'm sort of a generalist. I'm not really good at anything per se, or exponentially great at anything. I don't have the luxury. Like, I can't go install something and I'm an okay salesperson. I'm not a CFO and how to turn the machine on, right? So listen to learn, ask to empower. And I think that, the greatest form of intelligence, or the way I think about true intelligence, is can be judged by the type of questions you ask. So I'm genuinely curious. And so I try to ask good questions, try to listen, try to be extremely empathetic. I think there's this misnomer of the whole E-myth of, hey, I want to be nose in, fingers out of the business and just up here watching it all happen. That's just not the reality. There's a constant, okay, we've got a challenge operationally. I need to go participate, ask questions, investigate, help cultivate, the kind of the root cause analysis, support the team to find a resolution. I do step back and, okay, now we've got a pinch point over here in marketing or in sales. And so just try to continue to move the ball forward with people and through others. That's just a constant learning evolution.
Have you studied your practice of asking better questions, or does that just come with just getting better every week, every day?
I'm constantly making notes. I was just pulling up here on my phone. I keep just a note on my iPhone of questions that I hear people ask that I think are good or compelling. The default one is, it's overplayed, but tell me more.
Yeah.
And then we have the pregnant pause, right? It's interesting what gets filled in once we hit them with the tell me more and then what we can hear. I think the challenge is as leaders, and I think this has changed in my opinion from command and control to just ask and listen. Because I just don't think that plays well anymore. At least culturally, what we're building, that wouldn't be normal for kind of command and control and constantly directive.
How many questions do you have on that list, do you think?
That is a good question. I don't know. I don't have them numbered. I did just read an incredible book, The Art of Asking Better Questions. I think he's a former pastor, but it's a fantastic book. And you talk about, I added a boatload to the list just from that book.
Okay. What are some of your favorite draw out, learn something about someone or something questions in addition to tell me more?
Okay, I'll just give you a couple. What are you passionate about right now?
Can we dig into that? I have to stop you right now. So in a professional setting, as a leader of a business, you ask, what breaks your heart? Okay. So
Yep.
What type of responses do you get? And where does that drive conversation?
You get a lot of different responses. It's interesting. We just had this debate, and it's funny you bring this up. So there's a book, 365 Questions by Brett Ledbetter. He's a kind of a well-known coach. Unfortunately, he coaches the Oklahoma City Thunder, which too soon to talk about that. But he's got this book, and I heard him speak at an event not too long ago. But I brought this up with a group not too long ago, and I said, we start our executive meetings, and I'll just say, hey, pick a number, and I'll open a page. And these are like questions like that. They are highly relational, rather intimate. But it's interesting. I think that like if we're going to be in the trenches, grinding it out, and kind of going to battle every day as a team, it's going to be pretty imperative to have a high level of relational equity. And I'll give you one example. We had a company retreat. Our leadership team were spend 3 days whiteboarding the strategy and the long-term vision and all this. I opened day two with a question. Somebody picks a question out, and the question is, hey, what's the most recent person you've had to bury, and how did that make you feel? It was something about losing someone passing away. And I'm facilitating this retreat, and my dad had just passed away like 4 days before that.
Oh my gosh. And
so immediately when one of my teammates picked the number and I read the question, they were like, we don't have to do that one. We can, and I'm like, there's a reason this question came up. We're gonna wade through this together. And I processed maybe emotionally with my leadership team what it felt like to just lose my dad. And I said, this is healthy. This is healthy for me to talk about what I'm feeling, why I'm here 4 days after, and so that's probably an example of like why or how we're leaning into this deep relationship. Because we're spending a lot of time together. People need to know who I am, and I bring the whole Marcus to work, and I want them to do the same.
That's awesome. Do you find that your team, because obviously, you slow played it a little bit, Marcus, of being a student of question asking, but you just like ripped off 2 books that you read about asking questions. Do you think that is like a key part of your culture, is being a student of asking good questions?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I've never articulated it or thought about it that way, but I would certainly hope so. Yeah, practice continuous improvement is one of our values. I talk probably obnoxiously to the team about, what are you reading? What are you listening to? What are you consuming? I was such a terrible student. I feel like I've got this perpetual desire and need to feel like I'm learning all the time to make up for all the ground I lost. I feel like growing up. So I would hope that would be sort of culturally true.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that story.
Yeah.
What are some other questions on your list?
There's a lot here. Some of these are really specific. What are you passionate about? What would you be doing right now if you weren't afraid of failing? Where are you getting joy right now? If someone gave you a free ticket to fly anywhere in the world for 1 week, where are you going and why? I have this hard, my wife and I just went to an event last night. I have a hard time getting engaged in the small talk, this kind of the in passing networking thing. So I'm known for, and my wife has a love-hate with it, but she'll warn some people when we go to dinner with groups. It's like, hey guys, like Marcus is probably going to ask some questions. And it's not like, hey, did your team win the ball game? Like, we're going to go somewhere. And it's funny because I think it's just a way more enjoyable relationship building type of experience. And so I do the same thing at work often. And I'm not posing, it's just genuinely the way I operate. So
I love that. That's great.
So this is kind of a big year for you, I think. 20 years post college.
I hadn't thought about that, Todd, but thanks for reminding me of my age.
You're welcome. My next question will probably fall flat then when I ask, what have you thought about being about mid-career?
I wonder if I'm mid-career. Well, I just had breakfast with a young gentleman who desires to kind of go the entrepreneurial path. And I was running with my neighbor this morning, and we talked about like peak earning, peak
Yep.
working year. I feel like I'm just getting warmed up. Don't tell my wife, but she probably thinks we're retiring at some point in the not so distant future. But like, maybe I'm at the halfway point. I don't know, but I love, I don't say the game of business, but I love what we do. I love setting goals with people and working really hard, and then the joy of winning and the challenge of defeat. I have a blast doing what we do. Often joke about retirement because this will probably change, but I don't believe in the concept. I'm not interested in hanging up the backpack and, dying slowly in a rocking chair. I think God's given me some unique abilities, and I intend to fully exhaust what he's given me as long as I can, and as well as while I honor my wife. And we've got twin girls. They are, 1A and 1B, but I hope to be competing for a long time. Maybe I'm at halfway, but we'll see.
Yeah, maybe not. Where's the blue sky and green pasture for California Closets? You call it Midwest, right? Not Central Indiana. You got a broader than just Indiana territory. Where's the blue sky for you guys?
We think we've got a tremendous opportunity within the geographies that we own and operate in today throughout the Midwest. We've only opened one new showroom in the past couple of years, so there's probably opportunity to plant some new flags. But if we just look at homeowners, at kind of permits getting pulled, home transactions in all the states and zip codes that we own, there's significant opportunity and upside. And there's lots of competitors and new ones all the time. I don't get overly concerned with that. I think there's enough of the pie for all of us to continue growing, hopefully. And then, as you mentioned, like as we help people understand, it's more than just the closet in the home. You probably have, 10 to 15 spaces in most homes that we could serve. So continuing to evangelize and kind of share that message. But we think that there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of meat on the bone still.
Do you find yourself selling more to homes that are maybe 10 to 20 years old, or brand new construction builds, new homeowner wants to finish out a space that maybe the builder didn't have an option for?
It just depends on, typically it's an existing home that we're going into, but if building is exploding, and it's not the case today, it's not explosive in terms of permits getting pulled and shovels in the ground, but if that swings way up, I would anticipate us to ride that as well. But Coming post COVID like this, everybody kind of hung around at home, and depending on where rates were at, lots of folks were just going to stick to their current home or are sticking to their current home, but they don't like the garage anymore. They don't like the kids' playroom. And so they're going to make the changes to those. And we love that too. But typically when there's life events, there's a baby coming, or we're moving, or we're getting married and moving into, those are when we get the phone call of, hey, we got a challenge to solve. We got some stress. Help us kind of eliminate that.
Do you market to that? Do you pull lists based upon those triggers and try to identify those people and answer the questions they're sort of already asking themselves as to what to do with that corner?
Yeah, as best we can. Yeah.
What's the average project price range? And I know that probably swings wildly.
Yeah, it does. There is a significant spread. We've done projects. I looked this week. We've done a couple $100 closet. We've done a $50,000 home office. So it really just depends on the complexity, and because everything we do is custom, it's one of one. So you may want all the bells and whistles and lighting and crown molding and automated movements and different things. The other person may just want the bare bones basic shelving. And so our ability to be custom, it just allows us to serve a big swath of customers.
I read something about you guys deploying some virtual reality to do some maybe measuring and design optionality. Is that across your franchise as well?
Yeah, we've got some capabilities with our CAD software. We're always tinkering with things on the bleeding edge. We're not all consumed with everything that's happening from a virtual reality or an AI perspective, but we're trying to stay informed and educated and innovate to the extent that we can, while we also focus on just chop wood, carry water with the core thing that we've got.
I bet you've done at least one project that you remember that was quite unique, maybe two or three. What is a unique project that your location has done that you thought, I don't think we'll ever do something like this again?
Without exposing any clients, which we don't talk about. I think we've done something similar to a safe room. I think we've done a multi-level closet. I'm a bit of a recovering sneakerhead, so I can recall some incredible sneaker displays that I saw the finished pictures with envy. But that's one of my favorite things is every day our team out in the field, they upload all these photos of the finished product. And it's pretty cool to see what clients have dreamed up, what our design team has drawn up, what the engineering team made possible. The guys and the team here manufactured it, and then the installer delivers it to a T. And you'd never know they were in your home because they cleaned up better than it was when they got there. And they may have hung the TV because you needed help with that. It's pretty cool to see stuff come to life.
How many installations a month do you think you guys put in, start and complete, per month?
That's a good question. I would say we should know our numbers, Todd. You're putting me on the spot. It's a couple hundred.
That's a lot. That's a lot of people. Probably means you get a lot of repeat business too.
We do. Yeah, we've got it's hard to believe, but we had a 96 NPS last year, which
wow,
is pretty baffling. But our team does an incredible job of creating a one-of-a-kind experience. So yeah, high repeat, high referral, but the NPS it's baffling. I remember for years I didn't really trust the data. That's a wild number on an NPS score for a brand like ours, direct to consumer. But it's true. I mean, we deliver, and the team just flat out delivers almost every time.
Probably goes back to that comment you made earlier where you said, Todd, we like to do that for you to provide a better experience. And when you've got that kind of mindset, you leave really nothing for me, the customer, to do, and you just end up creating what I envisioned, and that's going to get you a 96, 97, 98, 99 NPS for sure.
That's right. That's right.
Well, and you mentioned that, hey, we're going to clean up better than, when we got there, and, we'll hang your TV on the way out. I mean, that's a culture of going the extra mile and making sure that the customer is just wowed by the experience. So good for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely an element of serving with, throughout the organization.
One question that I kind of hate going back, but I missed my opportunity to ask it. What made Threefold the right fit for you?
Yeah, it's funny. That was a lot of my conversation this morning with this young entrepreneur or desiring entrepreneur this morning. I was able to, and probably with the help of Mark and Charlie and other mentors in my life, I was able to see my limitations pretty clearly. And so I think I am reminded of them often, but I was able to see where I had some gaps in terms of running a business. And I felt like, and it's been validated 10 times over, but I felt like Threefold, Mark and Charlie, and the system would help fill in some of those gaps, if not all of them. And then to be faith aligned with my business partners, knowing that when push comes to shove, when the difficult situations, as you guys know, as business owners, are certainly going to come up, we are aligned in how we're going to handle them. We're going to try to care for the individual. We're going to talk about what it looks like to build this thing with the kingdom impact in mind. That was sort of the end all be all, knowing that there's no question about what we're competing for and how we're going to do it. Because it's hard, as you guys know, it's hard to kind of do this entrepreneurial thing, but to have value aligned teammates, it's pretty priceless.
Yeah. I know you're a very disciplined individual. Yeah, you read a lot. You have strong routines. Can you speak a little bit to both of those things, about just your desire to read and learn, but also maybe, and sorry for a two-part question, I know those always stink, but what are some routines that you have in place that are like incredibly important to you?
Well, yeah. So on the reading thing, I made the joke earlier, but I really do. I feel terrible in high school. I need to pull my transcripts because I think I was like the bottom 10%, but terrible in high school, terrible in college, barely graduated, both, give or take. I was a good enough student to make sure I played sports, essentially, but I just have this chip on my shoulder. It's like I feel there's probably something I need to process there, but I feel so inadequate all the time. So I'm like, I need to read a lot to learn, and I never paid attention enough. So I'm gonna try to catch up now, but it's just part of who I am now. I catalog I use an app called Readwise. So everything I highlight and underline goes into this app, and it catalogs all my insights from all the books I've ever read. Jeff Simmons, the CEO of Elanco, founded Edge Mentoring, another friend and mentor of mine. At some point in time, he talked about reading 60 books a year. And so that's forever been, hey, CEO 60 has been my pursuit. I don't always get there, but it's always the target. Can I read 60 books every year? Catalog the insights. And somebody challenged me years ago. They're like, why don't you just read like one book or two and just like own the content, implement everything? And I'm like, well, I think what's really unique, and I can't articulate it well, but there's something that happens where all these things coalesce and kind of swirl around in my head, and they'll come to light when I need them. It's much like, I think, memorizing scripture, right? You put these things on your mind and your heart, and there is times when, oh, there was that book and that insight and this question thing that Ben just asked. Like, it's just interesting to me how all that sort of coalesces. I wish I could say that's the vision I had when I started trying to read 60 books a year, but it's just sort of happened that way. And the discipline part of your question, we had twins 10 years ago, and I was like, there's a lot of stuff I need to get done. So I'm either not going to get a lot of it done, or I'm going to have to become, mildly disciplined and rigid. And that starts with, everybody's got a different approach, but for me, my morning routine is pretty sacred. I'm running out of time. I feel like I'm gonna have to get up really early to get everything in. But look, I wake up early. I drink coffee, do devotions, do a little reading, I get a movement in of some sort. Every Friday I run with my neighbor, like get a sweat in, get cleaned up, and then try to help get the girls to school, maybe take them. But like that morning thing is pretty rigid. I've got this obnoxious, unhealthy obsession with my smartwatch. Like I've worked out 1,500 days in a row, and so I like have to do it every day. There's some unhealthy balances here of discipline that probably a different episode for a different day.
So what time do you wake up in the morning?
4:50. And my wife, who is not a morning person, she's like, I just don't understand how and why either you get up before the alarm or the alarm goes off and you get up and you go and you just do. She's like, I'm thinking she's gonna be mad I'm outing her. Just like maybe a snooze or two, or just kind of lay there and kind of get your thoughts together. I know if I do that, I'm not getting up. So it's get up and go.
Well, hey, and you can't have that alarm going off like 3 times when at 4:50 in the morning, right?
Yeah. If for no other reason that if I let that thing roll and she hears it, I'm gonna catch a lot of heat. But yeah, right. I get up and get going. But I was just joking with Matt, the president of Renovia within our portfolio, Matt Rolson. It's like I like to get up at like 2 or 3 a.m. to get all the stuff in you want to do. You want to cold plunge, you want to do the sauna, you want to do all these things. It's like at some point it's not viable. But
right. So you probably go to bed early then too.
Yeah, I'm not saying what time I go to bed early, but it is early. Yes.
Yep. Yep. Well, I think it's good to say out loud because some people think leaders who have discipline that do that sort of thing are like, staying up till midnight and getting up at 4:50. It's like actually leaders build their schedule for what works for them, and usually, unless you're like an unusual creature like Trump who gets 4 hours of sleep, like you still need to get 7 hours of sleep or whatever it is to make sure that you're doing the thing. So
I think
that's like a misnomer.
I felt like forever. It's like, and I love a lot of Gary Vee's content, but like Gary Vee is like he sleeps for an hour a night, and I'm like, man, I want to be that. And I've tried some of that, and I am worthless. I need 7 or 8 hours, and that's just how I'm made, and it works for me. It works for our family, and I've just had to grow comfortable. But that's Marcus's recipe. We've all got our own recipe. There's some folks and entrepreneurs that I know they flip the other way, right? They're working late into the evening, and that sweet spot for them is the 10:30 to 1 a.m.
Yep.
I am worthless 10:30 to 1 a.m.
You don't see 10:30 to 1 a.m.
Yes, not on purpose. Exactly. Yeah, unless somebody's walking into my room because they can't sleep and they're having a nightmare. One of the 10-year-olds. So.
What when you think about your running a business and your work ethic, obviously you mentioned that you have twin daughters, 1A and 1B. What do you hope that they catch from watching Dad?
Yeah, man, that's a great question, Ben. To write that one down on my list. It's funny. I don't know why I jump to things I hope they don't catch, but what I hope they catch is, the adoration, the respect, and the care I have for their mother. I pray for their husbands. They're 10. We got a little flavor of some boy craziness going on. I'm not ready for that, but I hope they see that and they don't tolerate anything other than a young gentleman opening the door for them and pulling out the chair, paying for the meal, like some of the chivalry things. I hope they see that and they don't tolerate anything less than that. I hope they can remember and appreciate the relationship that we have. Twins is an interesting thing. Like they're constantly forever the twins, but it's just because they're born at the same time. They're two very different people. They're fraternal, not identical twins, Naomi and Kai. But we do something. I don't know who told me this, but we do something. We've done it 4 years now. Every summer, daddy-daughter trip, and they get to pick somewhere we go, and we go for 48 hours. I wanted to teach them how to travel, and so we fly somewhere. It's literally a really quick and cheap direct flight. Stay in a hotel. We go out, have some meals, and explore a new town. Then we come home, and then we upload all the pictures, and we get it printed in one of those Shutterfly book things. And so they're collecting these books, And so that they'll have this, I hope, this keepsake of all these daddy-daughter trips of how I was busy and we were growing a company and all these things, but also dad made time for things like that. There's a couple artifacts I hope that mean a lot to them, things like that. I write them letters every couple weeks in a journal that they'll have when I'm gone. It's just letters of leadership lessons and faith lessons and things I'm thinking about as I watch them grow up. I don't know. There's a lot we're trying to do. It's the joy of parents, as you guys know. We may never or really late find out if any of it sticks or works. But my mom raised us. My dad was great, but my mom raised us, and she was a special woman. So I'm trying to call a lot of plays she called.
Yeah. Is that, you mentioned letters? Is that in that sacred time that you block out? You mentioned devotion and praying and reading and that sort of thing. Is that when you have those quiet moments to be able to reflect and write those letters? And does it show up in that morning routine?
Yeah, it will. Or it'll show up when I feel like there's something I want to get pen to paper to try to capture the moment. But yeah, oftentimes it's the Saturday or the Sunday early morning quiet time that they're getting a letter.
That's awesome. Hey, Marcus, we're getting to the end of the episode, and this has been awesome. It's gone super fast. But we close our episodes by asking our guests 2 questions, and I'll fire away at the first one. But what is a risk that you have taken that has changed your life?
The easy answer would be, we've talked a lot about, leaving a very comfortable, exciting software job with a great company and going into, making squares and rectangles. That was a real risk. But if I step back and think about, I'm 43, like the whole 43 years, something, I think it's very popular now, and I don't mean that disparagingly, but something that many people don't know is I'm 16 years sober, and I had to make a courageous decision 16 years ago, like 0 alcohol, never again, cut friends out, had to think about a whole new social circle, a whole new rhythm, a whole new habit structure. And that was hard. So that was a big risk. The fruit is incomprehensible. Like it's, for many reasons been the right thing, but it's a unique, that was a unique decision many years ago that has had some risk. That was hard to do as a young guy.
For sure. Marcus, second and last question. What do you have the result? What is left yet unfinished that you have the resolve to complete?
I think that's the role of a father with, twin girls that are 10. I joke about the boy crazy, but there's a lot of life here. I've got them. We were talking before we hit record. We're empty nest in theory at 51. I got 8 years. I got 8 summers left. I think, Lord willing, my wife and I, Lindsay, will have the resolve to parent them well, form them in the image of Christ, but just to love them and try to impress upon them a few important things before they head out on their own.
It's beautiful. Marcus, appreciate your friendship. Thanks for joining us today on another episode of Risk and Resolve. Catch you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to Risk and Resolve. See you next time.